everybody. Welcome back to What You Don't See, the podcast. Today, we are covering a very interesting topic. We have a super special guest with us. Her name is Valerie Rivera. She is a trauma therapist. And on a previous episode, Magda and I opened up about how we have done trauma therapy. It's called EMDR, and we have received a lot of questions about what EMDR is, including some of the girls here.
I was like, what is this? She was like, we talked about it. I was like,
we don't know.
We
watched the episode.
We brought in an expert in the field, somebody who's out there doing God's work, healing people from their trauma, making sure that people can live their lives. So I want you to, give a brief intro about you and then what EMDR is, because most people don't know what it is.
So my name is Valerie Rivera. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, therapist. I specialize in trauma work, working specifically with individuals that have had childhood wounds, that is now impacting their life in adulthood. And my other specialty is working with couples that are having difficulty with communication and building like a strong foundation, also stemming from their own childhood experiences, right? So what they've observed in their lifestyles with their parents or caregivers, and it's now affecting and impacting negatively their relationship.
You have your own office?
I do.
Where
I have a
is it
private
located?
practice. It's in Mission, off of 495. So I do in-person and online services.
Oh, online too.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah, in the state of Texas.
Yeah, and online.
Yeah. So EMDR, I got trained in EMDR back in like 2017, 18, something around there. And I really didn't know what it was at first. It was just something, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. So EMDR. Yeah, and I'll explain a little bit more about what that is. But when I got trained, I really didn't understand the concept of it. I kind of went just wanting to explore a little bit more about different ways that I could help individuals with traumatic experiences. So I went with an open mind, and I had to go through EMDR myself as I am being trained. And let me tell you that the first time that I went through it, it was pretty much what I call a shit show. I did not enjoy it whatsoever, but primarily because of the person that I got as my therapist at the time. We didn't connect, right? So I think it's very important that when you find a therapist that you connect with that person, because they are really going to be the guiding force behind your healing process, right? Like, we guide you to do that. And if you don't feel comfortable, you're not going to get anywhere.
Right.
And so I didn't get anywhere that first day. I felt very much more distressed. And I said, I don't want to do this.
That first day.
Yeah, that first day. I was like, this is for the birds. I don't want to do this. The second day I got assigned to a different therapist, and that was a completely different experience. Yeah. I was like, I believe in it now. Like, the whole tears, everything, it was a whole thing. And so I went back and I started getting, trained in it, more so, to get certified. I had to put in more hours. And so I've been doing this work since then with a lot of different individuals that have experienced all sorts of different things in their lives, right? And I've seen the tremendous healing that has been done from it. You two have gone through it, so you understand, right, what you go through and the ups and downs that you go through, and how you question certain experiences that you have, and is this going to work, is this not going to work? But at the end of it, the hope is that healing has been done from how you've been able to reprocess the memories that you've had in your life.
Okay, I still don't understand it.
Yeah, so
I don't get it.
Is it, this is a question. Is it the eye movements? Is it kind of like a reset for your brain? Or what does it do to you?
Yeah, so let me explain it to you the way that I explain it to people that come and say, I've heard about EMDR, but I have no idea
what it is.
Like me.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
So the way I explain it is, in simplest terms, is basically being able to connect the past and the present to the future, right? So what we're trying to do is keep you present while going back into the past with a certain memory and refiling it in a way that does no longer bring up these distressing
Affects you in the present.
Exactly, right? So it's called bilateral stimulation because we use these tappers, which you'll be able to hold on to right now. So if you hold on to these, you're gonna notice that each one is buzzing
Okay.
right?
Yes.
So you see here, and it's slow. It's very, very slow.
yeah.
We don't use the slow, so you hold him here inside your, there you go, there you go. Okay, so let me bring up the intensity.
And you've never done it?
Never.
Okay.
I'm
It
healed.
works. It works.
She starts crying. What the?
Yeah, so basically what happens, right, is that we are using both sides of the brain to be stimulated, right? So what we know about the right side is that it carries all our emotions, and what we know about the left side is that it carries a lot of logic and rationality. And a lot of the times we have to be able to understand how we tend to look and perceive the world, right? Do we tend to look at the world with a lot of logic, or do we tend to look at the world with a lot of emotion? And what we're doing here with EMDR, we're trying to connect the two, right? So at the very beginning, we ask, like, what is the memory that comes up for you that you want to work on? And from that memory, you're able to say, okay, then I ask you, okay, and what is, if we were to run this like a movie, what does a movie tend to pause on for you that brings up a lot of that distress for you, right? So if I say, I was in a car accident and I'm able to logically tell you what happened from beginning to end. Okay, from beginning to end, put a pause. What's the most distressing? Oh, when I think about the impact, right? When I think about like when that car hit me right there, my heart starts to race. I start to feel like I'm in the moment again. So in that moment, you're going back to the past.
Right.
The brain doesn't know whether you are in the past or in the present. It just knows that you're bringing it up, right? And you're distressing over it. So the body starts to feel as if you're back in that moment.
So it's just kind of like when you're watching a movie and someone gets in an accident, or someone's getting hurt, or someone's like getting stabbed. You start feeling those emotions because your brain doesn't know the difference
Whether
if
you're
it's
there or
reality
not, right.
or not.
Exactly.
So that's why I always tell everybody, super, super important to absorb nothing but positive material, because it's affecting your brain. Like your brain thinks that you're living that, or like they're stabbing someone, you're like you feel it. Like you're feeling it as if it's
happening to you. Right. So that's why it's important to be, when I use these words with clients, it's like, okay, but this is a perception, right? This is perceived threat. But our experiences are going to tell us a different story about how we view the world, right? If we've had all these, traumatic experiences growing up, of course I'm going to be hypervigilant about people. Of course I'm not going to trust. Of course I'm not going to look at it in a way. Exactly, right? I'm not going to thrive in the way that somebody that had positive experiences growing up is going to view the world.
So do you change that fear or whatever that is to a positive?
Yes. So the way so we look at look, what's that pause, right? What's that target memory? And then I ask you about your thought about it. Okay, what is your negative cognition? Right. My negative cognition is that I am not safe. Well, the opposite to that we're trying to work towards is I am safe, right? I am safe in the present. I wasn't safe back then, but now I am. So we try to change that, right? And then what's the emotion? Well, the emotion is that I feel fearful, I feel scared, I feel angry. Okay, we're going to desensitize those emotions. We're going to desensitize the memory so that you don't feel that way. So that when you go back to that memory, we can talk about it and we're not experiencing anything mentally, emotionally, or physically.
So you're holding these things and the person is talking at the same time.
No.
With a different buzzing.
No, so there's limited talking in EMDR, right? The beginning part of it is, assessing all of these different images and memories and things like that. And then it's like, okay, we've already identified all of these stressors, right? All of these triggers for you. Now you're going to hold on to the tappers, and most of my clients, probably 9 out of 10, choose to close their eyes, right, to like really get in it. And so they close their eyes. I start this, right, and it's going back and forth. It's like buzz, 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 buzz. And as you're doing that, I say, okay, hold on to what we just identified and just go with that. So see where that takes you. 9 out of 10 times it's going to take you back to that, and you're just going to start to re-experience those same distressing situations, with the goal to desensitize that over time. So we start to make a lot of connections. If I go back to the car accident, it's like, okay, I'm connecting myself to that car accident. And when I come back, right, I stop it and I say, okay, what came up for you? And then you say, okay, like I remember being in the vehicle and I remember like automatically, wanting to throw up or whatever. Okay, go with that. And then we're just allowing that to reprocess so that we can file it in the brain differently so that you can go back to that memory, filing cabinet, you go back to that memory, pull it out and be like, yeah, this happened. This is what I went through. And
it no longer affects.
It's no longer distressing for you, right?
Yeah. So the tapping, the bilateral stimulation in your hands has a healing and reprocessing effect in your brain, right?
In your brain
What is
and in
the
your
eye
body.
movement? What is that?
Well,
That's another way you can do it.
So for
Yeah.
example, let me show you. So you look up, you look down, you look up, you do like a series. It's a
You do
series
side
of
to side.
movements.
Side to side.
I've seen online. There's like a whole reset, and I'm pretty sure you know about it. But it's basically just eye movement, right?
Yeah.
'Cause
So it's
allows
side
you
to side, right? And we're like
Connect both
looking
sides of the
right, both sides of the brains. But
That's how it started out.
yeah, with eye movement. But as I was telling Leah right before we started, you know, the tappers is just easier. A bilateral stimulation can be done you could literally be leaning side to side, right? You could be tapping side to side. You could do any type of bilateral stimulation. I just choose to use the TheraTappers, but it's the same thing. It's just called eye movement because that's how it was discovered initially back in the late 1980s.
Yeah.
It was discovered in the 80s.
In the 80s, yeah.
By
it's
who?
very effective.
Francine Shapiro.
So she came up with that process that will
Right.
help you.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, she came up with that. She was in the park, the whole story, right? She was in the park. She like came up with it by accident, if we may say that. And then she started doing research, and then she started noticing that, yeah, like this is a therapeutic modality that is very helpful in reprocessing, you know, memories. And when I do trauma work, I do a lot of psychoeducation at the beginning because I think it's important for people to understand like how the brain functions, how the brain works, how the body tends to respond and react to certain things in the brain. And one of the things that I use is like the hippocampus, right? It's our memory bank, and I use it as a filing cabinet. You have all these memories that you filed away. And then there are those memories that tend to be free floating in the brain that at any point in time, if you're triggered by something, that memory comes up and it's like, oh, we're back in that moment. It's not in the filing cabinet. So my job as a therapist is to help you file it in the filing cabinet so that if you want to go back to it, you can pull it out and be like, yeah,
that happened
This
to
is-
me.
right.
I had that experience. You can freely talk about it without it triggering you or causing you to cry, causing you to be stimulated, or cause you to be again in that fear
Right.
Yeah.
survival mode from that trauma that you experienced.
And you can cry about it, you know, because again, crying is an emotional response that we have. The goal is so that you don't feel like it's happening to you again, right? Like you're in that exactly.
I really love that
Right,
you bring
yeah.
that up. Yeah. That
so you
literally
guys did
everything
it.
that you're absorbing, it's causing a reaction in your body. So
Right,
How long
right.
does it take you to heal? Like how many sessions did you guys do?
I did 5 months of EMDR sessions,
Oh,
and
wow.
the first one was very tough.
Every week,
Once a week. So
once a week for 5 months.
once a week for 5 months. Every Tuesday at 4:30, I would do it in my first EMDR. I did it in the morning at 9:00. Big mistake. Right. Big mistake.
note,
Why?
okay?
No. Always get a late appointment. So that day, I got EMDR because of domestic violence that I went through as I was 18, 19. So, and it was pretty traumatic. So I went at 9:30 in the morning to go get my EMDR. He did tell me I was gonna feel very sensitive. I come back to work, clients all day long. It just happened that I had another employee at another office and they called me. Now remember, I went in there for domestic abuse, right? I get to the office because there's drama happening between my employee and her boyfriend.
Oh no.
So that day, dealing with that, usually I would be like, come here, let me take care of you. This day, I didn't have it in me. I was like, I don't want this ever to happen again, right? Keep your business at home. That's not me. I send her back to her office. I go home. It wasn't until like 7:30 in the morning, at night, that I started feeling very, very emotional. And I think a lot of that, EMDR, what had just happened, me not giving myself that time
Yeah.
to process what just happened. At 7:30, I got a panic attack. I was back at being that 19-year-old
No.
in that bedroom suffering. And I just went full-blown panic attack. I don't get panic attacks. But I continued. Then I went back to my therapist. I told him, he's like, no, we need to do in the afternoons. After that, me going through that was something that I don't talk about a lot because I would cry. I would, I have several friends that would try to ask me, in the moment I would start talking, tears, right? Now, I could talk about it. I've been very open about it. My sisters, my family did not know. I was able to tell them what I went through.
Yeah.
And now things make sense to them. It's like, oh, Magda, now we get why this on this date. Did something happen on this date? Yes. I knew it. Like everything made sense, and I feel better that I was able to share it, and they know my experience. And I don't cry anymore. And I feel like
Empowered.
yes, and my self-worth is higher now. I don't let little things bother me. I am so grateful for those 5 months.
Right. Yeah. Because the memory itself is no longer holding you hostage, right? It's you feel free from it.
I haven't watched the movie enough, and that's a movie that I cannot watch. I tried watching it once, and I just turn it off. I can't. But I do want to go back and watch it to see, because I think I feel strong enough to watch that movie.
Right.
I like the way you said holding you hostage, because like those emotions do hold us hostage.
Yeah.
You know, from that fear. That was a really good.
Yeah, I think we also need to talk about how important it is to release those emotions, release or say it, that secret that you have, that, because that's what, makes you ill in the end, right? Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
Leah?
I've had a lot of, when I've talked about EMDR, I've had a lot of people ask me, is it like hypnosis?
Is it like woo?
They think like it's fake, or like it's like going to like a curandera or something. You know what I mean? They're like, oh my God, did they put you under?
Witchcraft.
Like witchcraft. Because it seems a little bit crazy, but it's, I mean, like you just demonstrated right now, you're literally holding TheraTappers. You're going to the target memory. Your practitioner is walking you through it, helping you, reprocess it. It's you're not going under hypnosis.
Right.
You're not like, there's nothing like, witchcraft about it. But I think people, they're scared because would you say the first few sessions are difficult, like on somebody emotionally?
I think it depends, right? Again, everybody views the world and uses different parts of the brain differently. So sometimes I get people that are very logical and very rational, and my job is to help them tap into the emotional part. Where sometimes people,
I think that would be me.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, and so we have different skills, different ways to be able to kind of get you to connect with other parts of your brain, because the way that we view the world, again, is a protective factor for us sometimes, right? If I'm very logical and rational in how I view the world and how I perceive things, it could be because it's protecting me from the emotional aspect of things.
that's me. Yeah.
That
sounds like me.
That's why we haven't done it.
Yeah, that's why we haven't done it. Yeah.
Yeah, so like my job as a therapist is to help you connect to other parts that you haven't tapped into. And that's where it could start getting a little dicey, because we don't know what we don't know, right?
Yeah.
And so when that happens, sometimes it takes a little bit to get us there, and sometimes it's the first session and we're just like, whew, okay, full blown, right? I've had clients that have in the middle of it had said, and I always tell them, you always tell me when you want to stop, right? Like you want to stop, you stop. Most of the time they kind of trust the process and allow me to stop when I'm ready or when I think they're ready. But other times I've had clients that have been like, whoa, what is happening? Where are you taking me? What is going on? Let's not do this anymore, Yeah. And so it just depends, right? On
So you
what's
really
going
cry.
on.
Like I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm really crying.
No,
because my logic is like, okay, I mean, you went through it.
No, you do. There was times that I would just send a message to my therapist like, I don't think I could handle EMDR this week.
Yeah.
Like, can we skip?
Right.
So we would get, we would talk about something else. So I think I skipped it twice because I couldn't handle it. Because it takes you back to it brings back memories that I have forgotten about so many things.
Yeah.
The conversations that I had with him, I had never had with anybody else. The experiences that I shared with him, I have forgotten that I went through them, right? And it was very interesting how all those memories started coming back.
Right.
Things that your brain is protecting you, it's blocking you.
Exactly. It's blocking. It's blocking certain things to protect you from the distress that you may experience, right? If you don't have the resources and the tools to work through that. What I also remind clients is that my job is not to tell you whether something is right or wrong, right? Like if you have memories, sometimes clients get really stuck in, but did that happen? Is that real? Like, did I go through that? And I'm like, just go with it, because the brain is trying to connect storylines for you.
Right.
And we're not here to dictate whether it happened or not, right? Just let the brain do the work that it needs to do. Right. So that's one thing, right? It's not about right or wrong. It's about what your brain pieced together for you through those experiences. And the other thing is tapping into parts of the memories that you're like, whoa, I haven't thought about that since, right? Without giving too much information, there was this one client that I worked with, and all of a sudden, you know, we had been working together for months, and then all of a sudden they had a memory that they were really stuck in, and they were like, I don't know if this happened, I feel like it did, where they ended up like escaping a situation and going through like this, like, I'm gonna call it a tunnel of some sort, and they were able to recall like colors and feelings, and I'm like, just allow it to go with it, right? And in the end, they discovered like that was my way of escaping to safety. Oh, wow. That's how the brain like processed this information
They
for
didn't know
them.
if it was real or not, because it was just...
We don't know, yeah.
Wow.
How long did you do it?
I did EMDR for, let's see, from January to August. How many months is that? 8. But I was probably not as consistent with it as Magda. Like I was doing it maybe like twice a month. And I feel like it's such a privilege to have access to EMDR because it's expensive, right?
It's
like
an investment.
Most EMDR practitioners don't accept health insurance. Right. So it's like private pay, out of your pocket. Many people who've experienced trauma don't have the resources to pay for this. And it's just like, how do we make it, well, one, educate more people about it and then make it more accessible? Are there like low income, like trauma?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes?
Yeah,
Okay.
there is.
How did you hear about it?
So my trauma therapist was the trauma therapist of my previous partner who had passed away. And so I was like, I want to go see this person. I didn't know about EMDR. Like I had no clue what it was. I was like, I want to see you because I feel like you understand what I'm going through. And he was like, I think you need to do EMDR. And I was like, well, whatever you think is best for me, I'm willing to do it. And he's like, that's very brave of you because most people don't want to go back to their trauma. You know, most people want to pretend it never happened. Yeah. They want to like bury it deep inside of them and see if it'll just go away on their own, on its own. But trauma doesn't go
Guess
away.
what? It doesn't.
It doesn't go away. And that's why there's books like The Body Keeps the Score. Your body doesn't forget.
Yeah, no.
You may have tried to like bury it, and pretend that it never happened, but it's manifesting in ways that are probably detrimental to your life. It's ruining relationships in your life. You know what I mean? So like we can pretend things never happened, but I promise you it's manifesting in some very detrimental way. And so it takes a lot of bravery.
Also, most of the time it's in a subconscious way where you're not even aware what's happening to you until someone actually brings it to your awareness. Like, oh, wow, I have been acting that way. Right.
Yeah.
I think it's also important to mention that everybody has its own personal healing process. So it might take you 8 months, it might take you 5, it might take you 1 day, just like you said. But I think when it comes to healing, you always have to be super patient with yourself.
Yeah. Everybody's healing looks different.
That was really nice.
And you you recently rolled out a new intensives.
Yeah.
What are those?
Yeah. So when you talked about the 1 day, yes. So the process, right, of EMDR, the way that it's been done is weekly, right, bi-weekly. I always tell clients, if you're going to do weekly, let's do bi-weekly, but consistently, because there's so much that happens in between. But what I noticed is that the weekly we can get stuck, and it can take a lot longer, right? Because then we go back to what happened over the week, you know, and how do we process that? So intensives is something that I offer now for couples and individuals where we have longer sessions, right? So like EMDR can be for 3 hours, and we're not doing the bilateral for the 3 hours, right? But we are doing in-depth work that allows you to really sit in the space that, you know, we're not timed for that 1 hour session, and it's like, okay, well, see you next week. And so that 1 day, yes, I've had clients that have tried it, and it's like, oh, like what took 3 hours, you know, or I'll offer it for 9 hours, right, over a period of 3 days. What took 9 hours would have taken me months of therapy to do, because we just sit there and we like get deep, you know? And it's been like a game changer for anybody that wants to do hard. It is hard work. when I say you're going to do intensive, do not go to work, call in, because you're going to be tired. You know, most of my clients say, I went home, I took a nap. I always recommend you go and do some sort of self-care, you know, get the tension out of your body with a massage, whatever you need, exactly. But it is hard work, and you have to be really committed and dedicated to this type of work, you know?
I agree. I gave myself last year, I told myself I was going to start taking care of myself more, and that going to therapy was one of the first thing on my list.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I registered, and then I went to Leah recommended the therapist, and when I went a month later, that's when he said, we're going to do EMDR. And I saw those little vibrating things, and I said, what is this shit gonna do to me, right?
Witchcraft.
Surprise, surprise. That little shit did a lot. It was even hard at the first 20 minutes because I couldn't get out of my own head.
Yeah.
I couldn't, right?
Yeah.
So, but I
When
gave
you
it
say
a shot.
you couldn't get it out of your own head, is you couldn't express yourself, or you couldn't get into the emotion?
Into the emotion, I was thinking, what is this gonna do?
Yeah, you
Like,
doubt it, the process.
I'm talking to
Yeah.
myself, right? Like recently, I did a Reiki session.
Reiki.
in Key West, and the first 15 minutes, I was doing that to myself again. And I'm like, Magda, just let it be. It was an amazing experience.
What is that?
I have one
Yeah,
scheduled for tomorrow.
What is Reiki?
Who do you
I've heard of it,
So-
but I don't understand.
Reiki is basically energy work, right? It works aligning your chakras. It works aligning like your energy field through symbolism, it's basically energy
Witchcraft.
work. No, curandero stuff.
I went to a curandera.
No,
Sarah is not a believer.
She's been sitting here this whole time.
I'm listening.
Like you've been sitting here
she
like,
definitely needs to work on her emotions.
Sarah,
Because
I
she's
think
so
you
logical.
might need it the most.
I think you need it the most.
I'm like,
Hold that
You've
with
been sitting
your
here
hand.
just like,
I'm taking it in. I'm listening to you guys. Some of you guys out there probably, feel like me.
When I did my first Reiki session, I was the same way as you. It's like, okay, what is happening? What's going on? And then all of a sudden I started like twitching and then like crying. I was like, what is happening? Like, why do I feel? And you could feel like pressure. You could feel like, I'm going to have one tomorrow and I'll let you know how
What
it
do you
goes.
do? What do you do?
You just lay down. You just lay down. That's it.
You lay down.
Not like the not like that, guys.
no.
Yeah, it's like
Not
you
like the
just
surgeon.
that's it. Not like that.
You
You lay down and you just let the healer, do
So
its
they
thing.
don't
The
say
Reiki
anything
master.
to you?
No, actually, me, the first time I did it, it's like, they'll tell me like, okay, what do you like? Some of them talk to you, some of them don't, and they'll just put like background music, and they'll just do the work, and you just start you feel
They
it.
do
It's crazy.
what work? They touch
So
you?
it's not touching.
No,
They
they
don't
just
touch
do
you.
this.
No,
They just,
it's
like-
not touching. They're just messing with your. Sometimes they'll tap
they
you.
literally like,
No, sometimes they'll
They'd have to
tap
be like-
you. Get this man out of here. So they'll tap you sometimes, but it's mainly just like it's on your energy field.
Yeah.
Like so.
I will say I am skeptical. Of
Yeah.
this.
No, you have to try it. You really have to try it.
It is a proven.
It's a proven therapy, yes.
Scientific, backed up by science.
Yeah.
I had
I
a
will
great
try
experience.
Reiki. I
We
will
should
try
try
it.
it.
I will try it.
I'll tell you guys how it goes tomorrow, and I'll give you guys the girls'
We'll do a
contact.
session on it.
Yeah. Oh
We'll
yeah.
bring somebody
We can bring her in.
Reiki.
Yeah. Even better.
And
Yeah.
explain it. Kind
Yeah.
of like Valerie's
Yeah.
explaining this
And
to us.
and
Yes.
the cool
do it on you.
thing, about Reiki,
Demonstration.
it could be done on a personal level. It could be done on group. You could have a session with someone in Washington and they receive the energy. Like it's
come
it's,
on.
I swear. I'm
Okay.
telling you. I'm telling you. I mean, if you have to really believe in energy and in
Yeah.
all of this stuff
Yeah,
to
and
actually
if you
believe in
believe
this.
it, if you believe it, it's real. If you don't believe in it,
exactly.
it's not real.
It's not
you
gonna
know?
happen to
So
you.
my experience was, she spoke to me, right? She was talking to me. I wasn't talking. But what I loved about it was that she took me to go meet future Magda.
Okay.
So we did, no, really, like, she's like, where do you see yourself?
Your face.
No, where do you see yourself at this age? And I saw myself where I want to be. Then she's like, now I want you to take yourself and ask future Magda how she got there and how she feels. And it was, by that time, I was in it. And I spoke to future Magda. And then future Magda walked with Magda and let go of all the childhood stages. Now, the crazy part was, each stage that came into my mind right? She's like, okay, let's go when you were this age. A memory came in, and I was able to let go of that. And then another one, and I think about all the stages that my mind, all those memories it brought were good and bad. And I got to see faces that I spoke to my therapist about that I had forgotten, but they were there. And then at the end, they closed those doors, and then I'm working to get towards where future Magda wants to be, right? So I love my session. It sounds crazy.
Yeah, it sounds so crazy.
And I'm a believer because my sister, who is not a believer, she had one here. Some lady came down at Quiet Minds,
Okay.
from Florida. My sister went, and she had the most amazing experience. And somehow, I don't know, maybe spirits sometimes come to you during the session.
Oh, I have a super crazy story.
Because my sister's husband passed away, and he came into the picture. My grandpa, we were having to make tough decisions with my dad, and my grandpa showed up and told my sister, because we were getting judged by everybody in the family of what we were doing, that she was making the right decision, right? And then her husband,
Yes.
no,
Sarah.
I'm listening.
and my sister's not a believer. My sister would never, ever. But she did it because she goes to yoga there. They were offering. She didn't know what she was expecting. She didn't know this was going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? She just wanted positive energy. Her deceased husband said that you're not walking no more. You're not walking like you used to. You don't do this. You don't do that. You're thinking too much of my paintings. Don't think of my paintings. I want you to think of my pans and my cookware, because I used to love to cook. So my sister closed the chapter of fighting for his paintings, went and grabbed his cookware. He lives in Spain. She went to Spain and brought it back with her.
Oh, I
pretty
love that
story.
story.
Yes.
Aw, what a
So
beautiful
after
story.
that, I went.
She got healing.
Yes, she got heated. And
When did you do it? How long ago?
last month, actually, probably a month.
One
exactly
time
a
I
month
was
ago.
doing, a friend came over, and that's when I had the first healing, and we were doing yoga and circles and all that, you know. And I did like a little Reiki session on her. And I kid you not, like, I asked her, why, like, I'm getting like a little download. Why am I supposed to ask you like about your brother? And she's like, oh my goodness, like I miss my brother so much. And I was just having memories of us like chilling in like a sunset, like on top of a car, just like hanging out, like my siblings, blah, 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 blah. I kid you not, like I opened my eyes just like that little tiny bit, and I saw like beams on each side of her, like light, like just like light.
Oh, look, I'm getting.
I have no idea. Like that's the craziest like Reiki experience like I've ever had, because we were so in tune with each other. We were like, what the fuck is happening? Like, and what did I just see? Like what's going on? So for you, I think you really have to be like spiritually, like you really have to believe in that, and you really have to
Yeah.
believe in energy, and you really
Yeah.
have to believe in angels
Yeah.
and you
I
know
believe in
external
energy,
healing
angels.
in
I
order
see
for you
color.
to.
I see color
Okay, so
around
those are
people.
auras.
You
I
do.
I see color around people.
So we're all psychic in a way. You should be able to see auras. You should be able to feel energies, you know, through your intuition and all of that.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's so important to have coherence within you, to have balance between both of your brains, to know what you're doing, what you're flowing, what direction you have, and to release all of those traumas, which I think ultimately are anchors that are holding you down and keeping you away from becoming your best self.
Right. It's really about tapping into different parts of the brain and different parts of our body that we normally tend to shy away from because we're afraid of what will come up. You know, and Magda, when you were talking about like being able to talk to like your future self, I mean, that's part of EMDR too, right? It's the past, the present, and the future.
Right.
What are we working towards in the future? What is it that we want to align our lives to look like? The other part that you were talking about is inner child work, right? It's inner child healing, and I do a lot of that work
love
too
that,
through
yeah.
EMDR, right? It's tapping into the unheard parts of us that were shut down or that weren't given the opportunity to express emotions and thoughts, right? And a lot of the times that happens, like, oh, I didn't realize that the way I grew up or the way I was, raised essentially impacted my relationship with my partner, and negatively too sometimes, right? So that's why couples work, it's important for me to understand what was your background and what was your background. Where do you both come from? Because you cannot mesh both backgrounds and expect that it's gonna be, 100% good all the time, right?
Right.
So where do these expectations come from? So yeah, like it's different work that you do, and you don't have to necessarily believe. I think that as you start to experience it through the process, then you'll slowly start to trust the process, right? You don't have to trust it at the beginning.
It's like meditation, right? Like I guess you don't know meditation.
You learn,
until
yeah.
you try it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Just like any other thing, you don't know what it is until you experience it or you try it. Like
Scientifically, because
scientifically,
EMDR.
EMDR is backed up by research, and it's a therapeutic modality that,
Anybody that's had trauma needs to try EMDR.
So
What is the name of your company? Sorry.
Yeah, where are you exactly located?
So Inner Solace Therapy, 1723 East Griffin Parkway,
You're
by
saying that
appointment
really
only.
fast. Say it one more time.
Inner Solace Therapy.
Okay. Inner
Yeah.
Solace Therapy.
And so you can find me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and my website is innersolacetherapy.com.
I'm gonna follow you.
Therapy. Yes, I'm
should.
gonna sign up.
She
Do you have a
shares so many
subscription?
good things, so.
now, are there any programs that could help people that don't have the means to pay for EMDR?
So know that if you are a resident in Texas, right, anywhere in Texas, you can see a therapist anywhere in Texas. So if you don't find somebody here locally that offers low cost services, then, you can research a therapist, and we have, you can always reach out to me and I can send you those websites. But on my website, I have a page, it's resources. You go there and you'll be able to find a bunch of different websites that offer different therapeutic services that are at a cost that may benefit you, right? Whatever your scale looks like, you can always search for them.
Can you offer that on your webpage? That's really
on my webpage, yes. Yeah, resources, for like if I always tell clients, like if I'm not the person for you, still reach out to me and like I'll connect you with somebody, Even current clients, I understand that like personal investment, I'm not in network with any insurance companies for my own professional and personal reasons. But sometimes when clients say like, I really, really want this type of work to be done with me, but I cannot afford your services. Hey, let me connect you with somebody that does, right?
Right.
So reach out to me. Again, on my website, you can find those resources as well.
Awesome. Well, I think that this was like a super, super heavy, like enlightening conversation.
I see your aura shining.
Sarah's brow is a little less furrowed.
I see her third eye about to pop out.
The third eye.
Your third eye is popping.
I want to thank Valerie Rivera for not only the work that you do, because it's such important work, but for coming here, talking about it, spreading your knowledge. It's super important. We'll share her Instagram, her website, everything so that people can go and follow her and maybe hire her or go to her resources page and she can connect you with somebody who works for you. So thank you so much. I want to end by reminding everybody that this beautiful artwork behind us is for sale, all by a local artist named Joanna Galindo. If you are interested in buying any of it, send us a DM and we will connect y'all. See you on the next episode.